Not too long ago, it seemed like the Democrats were in big trouble. Biden's debate failure, an assassination attempt on Trump, and pretty much everyone was saying that we should just get ready for Trump to win. But after the Democrats switched things up with Kamala Harris, it literally changed the game. She raised a record $81 million in just 24 hours, surged into the lead, and now she's got a solid chance of becoming the first woman president of the United States. The Democratic Party is fired up for victory, but let's take a moment to think about what would the next 4 years really look like if she takes the White House. We could try to predict it ourselves, but opinions would be all over the place. Some might say it'll be a great time, while others might predict chaos, weakness, or even a world war. But instead of guessing, what if we turned to something emotionless and unbiased? What if we asked AI to predict the next 4 years of Kamala Harris's presidency and give us a clear answer on what we should expect? Well, that's exactly what I did, and in today's video, I'm going to share it with you. But before we get started, if you enjoy this kind of content, feel free to hit that like button, put a simple comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already. It really helps videos like these reach more people, especially if you subscribe while you're watching. Thanks in advance, and let's jump right in. But before I start talking to ChatGPT, let me explain why Kamala Harris is in our spotlight today. First off, I've already got a video where I asked it to predict a potential Donald Trump presidency, so feel free to check that out after this one. But the main reason is that Kamala Harris has a real shot at winning this election, and there are plenty of people who use the anyone but Trump logic without fully understanding Harris's policies and plans for the country. And this is where the AI comes in to help you see what you could expect. Now, what exactly will I be asking GPT to predict? I'm going to be focusing on Harris's current promises, figuring out which ones she's likely to keep and which she may drop. And then, with that information, GPT can predict what each year of her potential presidency may look like. So, without further ado, let's get into the conversation with ChatGPT. But first, I need to check if it even knows her election platform, her speeches, and all of that as of September of 2024. And here's the answer. Yes, I know Kamala Harris's election platform, speeches, and promises as of September 2024. Alright, well, if she becomes president, which promises do you think she'll keep, and which ones will she drop? If Kamala Harris becomes president, here's a breakdown of her most important promises and which ones she's likely to keep or potentially drop. Promises likely to be kept. 1. Protecting abortion rights. Harris is committed to codifying Roe v. Wade into federal law, making it a top priority in her administration. This issue is central to her platform, and she's likely to push hard to fulfill this promise. 2. Supporting LGBT+ rights. Harris has consistently championed LGBT+ rights, including anti-discrimination legislation. This is an area where she can make significant progress through executive orders and pushing Congress for supportive legislation. 3. Addressing climate change. Harris has promised aggressive climate action, including transitioning to renewable energy, reducing carbon emissions, and investing in green infrastructure. Given the global urgency of climate change, this promise will be a focal point of her presidency. 4. Gun control. Harris has vowed to tackle gun violence with measures like universal background checks and an assault weapons ban. While challenging, this is a key issue she will prioritize. Promises that might be dropped or compromised. 1. Populist economic agenda. Harris's proposals to address income inequality, such as raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour and expanding access to healthcare, might face significant opposition, especially if Congress is divided. These economic reforms could be watered down or delayed. 2. Immigration reform. Comprehensive immigration reform, including pathways to citizenship and stronger border security, is a cornerstone of her platform. However, given the contentious nature of immigration policy, full implementation of these reforms might be difficult. Some promises could be compromised or partially fulfilled. Alright, well, what can we sum up? As we see, ChatGPT doesn't fully believe in the economic agenda and immigration reform being successful, but it thinks that abortion rights, LGBT+ protections, climate change action, and gun control will likely be fulfilled. But this is only the beginning, and now we're moving on to the main part of the video, where we ask AI to predict the next 4 years of Harris's presidency. So, ChatGPT. Now I want you to predict the next 4 years of Kamala Harris's presidency. What decisions will she make, and how will they affect the United States and the world? I want you to write it all in detail. And here we go. Year 1. Stabilization and foundations. In her first year, President Kamala Harris will come out swinging, determined to solidify her base and deliver on key promises. She'll push aggressively for Congress to pass federal law protecting abortion rights, effectively codifying Roe v. Wade. This move will be a direct response to the conservative push against reproductive rights, and it will ignite a firestorm across Republican-controlled states. Legal challenges are inevitable, and the fight could escalate to the Supreme Court, creating a major political flashpoint. On climate change, Harris will waste no time. She'll immediately rejoin the Paris Agreement and set her sights on radically ambitious climate targets. Expect legislation aimed at slashing carbon emissions, massive investments in renewable energy, and a full-court press to position the U.S. as a global leader in green technology. Her administration will likely roll out bold initiatives to electrify the U.S. economy, from promoting electric vehicles to subsidizing solar and wind power. However, the Senate will be a battleground. Even with a divided Senate, Harris will push the envelope, but expect fierce resistance that may force her to compromise on key elements of her climate agenda. Foreign policy will be another area where Harris makes her mark. She'll move to reassert U.S. leadership on the global stage by strengthening alliances with NATO and rekindling relationships strained in previous administrations. Military aid to Ukraine will continue unabated, putting sustained pressure on Russia. However, Harris will also explore diplomatic avenues to end the conflict, balancing military support with a push for peace. Year 2. Economic reforms and social policies. In her second year, Harris will double down on her populist economic agenda. She'll push for raising the federal minimum wage to $15, a move that will spark fierce debates across the nation. Expanding healthcare access will be another cornerstone of her domestic policy, with Harris pushing for a public option with the Affordable Care Act. This will be a knockdown, drag-out fight with Republicans and healthcare industry lobbyists, and while a full Medicare for all system is unlikely, expect incremental expansions that could lay the groundwork for more significant reforms down the road. Midterm elections will be critical. If Democrats lose control of Congress, Harris's legislative agenda could be severely hampered. Economic challenges, particularly if inflation remains high or the job market struggles, could also undermine her popularity. Harris will need to navigate these pressures carefully to maintain public support and keep her agenda on track. On the global front, China will remain a major challenge. Relations will be tense, particularly over Taiwan, with Harris likely to increase support for Taiwan's self-defense. This could lead to escalating tensions with Beijing, but Harris will work to manage the relationship through diplomacy, aiming to avoid a military conflict while standing firm on U.S. interests. Year 3. Global leadership and domestic challenges. By her third year, Harris will be under immense pressure to deliver on her campaign promises as the 2028 presidential election looms. Comprehensive immigration reform will be at the top of her domestic agenda, but this will be a political minefield. Harris will seek to balance strong border security with pathways to citizenship for undocumented immigrants, but the issue will likely become bogged down in political gridlock, with fierce opposition from conservatives. Gun control will be another major focus. Harris will push for universal background checks, an assault weapons ban, and closing gun show loopholes. Expect a full-blown political war over these measures, with gun rights advocates mounting a massive opposition campaign. This could become one of the most contentious issues of her presidency. Economic challenges will mount as the election nears. If inflation spikes or a recession hits, Harris's domestic agenda could be derailed, and her political capital will be on the line. She'll need to fight tooth and nail to keep her agenda alive, particularly as Republicans intensify their opposition in the run-up to the election. On the global stage, the situation in the Middle East could become even more volatile, especially with Iran and its proxies. There's a possibility that certain leaders in the region who might hold traditional views about women in power could perceive a female U.S. president as a sign of weakness, leading them to test the boundaries more aggressively. Year 4. Election year and legacy building. In her final year, Harris will be laser-focused on cementing her legacy. She'll double down on key issues like climate change, healthcare, and economic equality, seeking to solidify the gains made in her first 3 years. However, the focus will inevitably shift toward the 2028 election. Harris will need to rally her base while reaching out to swing voters, a delicate balancing act that will shape the future of her presidency. Managing the economy will be crucial in this election year. Voters' perceptions will be heavily influenced by economic performance, and Harris will need to ensure that her policies are seen as effective in maintaining economic stability and growth. In foreign policy, Harris will aim to leave a lasting impact. She'll continue to support democratic movements worldwide, particularly in Eastern Europe and Southeast Asia. Relations with China will remain complex, but Harris will likely seek to establish a stable, if competitive, relationship with Beijing. Well, that's a tough prediction, and if Harris's presidency plays out anything like that, we're in for a wild ride. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I mean, honestly, some of these moves sound exciting, but that's not all. Let's ask GPT one last question. How would it all end for Harris? And how would our lives look after her presidency? But before we dive into that, just a quick reminder, if you're enjoying this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next video coming next week. Easy things for you, but they actually mean the world to me. So yeah, be sure to do those simple things, and let's move on to the final part. So ChatGPT, tell me, what should we expect at the end of her presidency, and how will our lives change? And here's the final answer. By the end of Kamala Harris's presidency, expect the US to be a nation of contrasts. On one hand, we'll likely see a major progress in areas like climate action, social justice, and healthcare reform, shaping a future that leans greener and more inclusive. On the other hand, the country could be more polarized than ever, with deep divisions over gun control, immigration, and economic policy. Globally, the US might reclaim its role as a leader in climate efforts and democracy, but at the cost of heightened tensions with powers like China and Russia. In short, Harris's legacy will be one of bold progress amidst significant challenges, leaving a nation both inspired and deeply divided. Alright, well, we're gonna wrap it up here, so thank you ChatGPT, and thank you for watching this video until the end. I think that was a pretty unbiased prediction, but of course, who am I to decide? Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on all of it. Do you agree or do you disagree with the AI's prediction? And right after that, click on this video where I did the same thing, but with a potential Donald Trump presidency. Thanks for watching, click on that video because I'm already there and can't begin it without you.